Well, it's a great pleasure to have with us on NDTV Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, the new Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. It's been more than a new, but it's great to have you with us, sir. Ever since you have taken over as Prime Minister, and when Mr. Sri Sena had done that earlier, there's a lot of talk and a lot of expectation in India that relations can now reach to their logical extent and go forward. I wanted to know what your perspective on that is.
Certainly, I think as far as Indo-Lanka relations are concerned, President Sri Sena and I are committed to having a strong relationship and to build on 2000 years of cultural, trade, economic exchanges we've had. Is how do we consolidate it, how do we go ahead. Already there's a large amount of people-to-people exchanges that are taking place in our country, a lot of trade, both legal and some of them taking outside the central banks, but that's been a part
of cricket as well, of course.
Yeah, it's a part of it. So it's how do we sort of consolidate this and put it into the formal structure. That's all that we have to do. And here I would say the main area is economic and trade. How do we work this out? We are sending a team headed by one of our ministers to go in there, discuss, have a new economic and technology agreement with India, which is a framework agreement.
So when you're looking at the forecast, I mean, obviously there's a lot of gloom and doom around the world right now. The entire global economy seems to be slowing down. IMF has just forecast that India could be one of the fastest growing economies. So do you in Sri Lanka see that as possibly a big opportunity also? It's a large market right across the Pork Straits from you.
I think the opportunity is there for us. Certainly the European economies are not picked up the way we anticipated. China is a rebalancing, moving out in becoming a consumer-oriented economy. But once they've done that rebalancing, they'll be strong. But where the growth is there is in South Asia, in India, in Sri Lanka. It's how we do it, how we carry it forward. If we can open out, then it will be a benefit to all the countries.
So India, I think you're right in saying there's been a lot of shared, there's a shared culture, there's a great affinity with Sri Lanka. Over the last few years, there was a certain perception, especially when Mr. Rajapaksa was the president, that for Sri Lanka, the priority is more China and not so much India, and that, China is really where Sri Lanka is keeping all of its bets. Is that changing a little bit? Has that changed dramatically now?
I mean, as far as we are concerned, we are friends with everyone. With China, we've had a good relationship. We will continue that. And China has certainly become a big investor in Sri Lanka. But that is not at the expense of India. It's not at the expense of any other country. We have a very strong relationship with the West. We are keeping that with Pakistan. So with India, certainly the relationship has suffered. How it was handled on both sides is not a matter for me to comment. I was not in government. Neither was the present Indian government. So we've got to now look at how we go ahead. There were times that the two former governments agreed. There were times they didn't. But that shouldn't stand in the way. And we are part of the Indian Ocean region. We have a role to play. We recognize some of the matters, issues of concerns to India, just as much as India has recognized some of the matters of concerns to us.
So a lot more cooperative talk is taking place
already,
now.
Yes,
so already. You would say the relations have improved to that extent?
It has certainly, because I think there is a more relationship between the political leaders now, not only at the bureaucratic level. And whenever the relationship between the political leaders of India and Sri Lanka are good, then relations move closer. That's something we have to sustain.
So in particular, I think there was a lot of concern in India about things like, the port of Hambantota. Is that going to become a Chinese naval base just off the coastline of India? That caused a lot of alarm or concern.
Hambantota was built with Chinese assistance. The Indian government is aware. They were talking with the then government, with President Rajapaksa. It is not a Chinese naval base. Firstly, China hasn't got a blue water navy yet. They're trying to put something together in South Pacific. What happens in the Pacific is a different issue. This is the Indian Ocean, and as far as we are concerned, there won't be any bases. But certainly we are talking, the Chinese are making it a big commercial port, and that would be the interest of all parties concerned, including India. But we are also inviting other shipping lines to come in, other companies to come and develop not only Hambantota but into Colombo Harbour and Trincomalee Harbour. We are doing some great projects there with the Indians also, and it's been planned out now.
So specifically on Hambantota and the Chinese, so you're saying that it's commercial and it's not that Chinese naval ships are going to be based or getting refueled in Sri Lanka?
No, the Chinese naval ships won't be based there.
Okay, so it's a commercial thing.
Commercial harbor.
And when it comes to Colombo and other such places, I know that the government has been talking and leaving open the possibility that Indian companies, and I think this was an invitation that Sri Lanka had made some time back, that India can come and can develop some of those other ports also.
Yeah,
like
they can apply, whether it's Colombo or Trincomalee.
And would you welcome that? Is that
Yes,
something
they can even come to Hambantota and do some project. We have no problems with it.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's something which you would.
Yeah, we have no problems. I don't think the Chinese will object either. I don't know why they shouldn't. If you want to come into the Hambantota port, all and good. We are merchants in the middle of the Indian Ocean, so we trade. That's all we do.
All right, and the doors are open to everybody.
Doors open for anyone to come. Yes.
Right. Within.
I think your aircraft carrier is due to come to Sri Lanka one of these days on your warship. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, yeah.
The aircraft carriers.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Indian naval ship might be there.
Yeah.
When it comes to the situation now in Sri Lanka, obviously it's now been 7 years since the LTT was decisively disseminated. I noticed you're also carrying the title of Minister for Reconciliation, and that is something which, again, there was a period when the international community was not quite sure whether Sri Lanka is doing enough for reconciliation after the defeat of the Tamil Tigers.
Now we are all committed to it on all sides. There's the President himself who's heading it, President Kumanatunga, the Foreign Minister, all of us. We have different roles to play. I am overlooking the formulation of the Constitution, accountability process being looked after by Mangala Samaraveera, the National Unity Office is done by President Kumanatunga, and the President has overall oversight the reconciliation projects. We keep talking with the TNA, with the Muslims, the others, even with the different Sinhala groups. It's a question of getting everyone together and say, now there's a great chance for Sri Lanka to go ahead. The two parties have got together. We can lay a foundation for the future and be an example for the region. So why not utilize it? That's the view of the country.
So if the Tamils and the Muslims were in 2009, 2010 slightly concerned that is it going to be a majoritarian country, you seem to be now saying that you are going to make great steps to assure everyone, including the minorities, that is not the position, and that they have an equal status and an equal place in Sri Lanka.
Everyone must have, including the Sinhalese. Yeah. The fact was finally everyone is getting moved out for one small click. No, we want everyone to have a stake in the country. We are first and foremost, we are Sri Lankans.
Yeah. And everyone will have that equal status now, and you work on that. On the question of reconciliation, there have been obviously concerns about what happened in the last few days of the war when the Tamil Tigers were destructed. United Nations and others had got concerned. So are you looking into that aspect or probing what happened finally at that time?
No, we are going into. There has been many reports on it. We are going in because the LTT held them all back as hostages. Then when the army went in, as the clashes took place, there were civilian casualties. And that's a matter that we have to go into and put it behind us, not keep it hanging head down in front of us.
Right. Looking ahead now, when you're looking at the direction that Sri Lanka is going to take, I mean, obviously it's one of the most beautiful countries, and the message that you would give to all of us in India, if you're coming for a vacation, come down to Sri Lanka, nice place to come. What other messages would you like to have?
No, my message is we've always been together, so let's continue it.
For thousands of years of history. All right, sir. And when it comes to your other vision for the country now, industrial hub, tourism hub, what would you be telling other people here in Davos about Sri Lanka?
No, I think it's a question that India and others in South Asia has to realize that basically we are not a regional economy. We traded with the world for thousands of years. Better start trading with the world again. And Sri Lanka is going into a global value chain economy, and we are going to open out. I had some discussions with Mr. Chandrababu Naidu also today. Otherwise, the developments in the last decade has been such in manufacturing, in technology, that we can't think of national borders or regional borders. And the disaggregation of manufacturing and services, the fact that we are now, it's a question of the tasks that are being performed in assembly process or a service, means we've got to think anew, and that is a great challenge. So far, for thousands of years, we manufactured a good or provided a service from our country. It's no longer, that's no longer the case. So if South Asia certainly accepts the fact, then in the next 20-30 years, we can have prosperity and rapid growth.
Right. Mr. Wickremesinghe, thank you so much for joining us.